Welcome to the Commander Jason Fun Deck series. In each episode, I'll break down one of my personal Commander decks. I'll look at each card in the deck and talk about why I included it. This is a Commander-inspired deck based on Depala, Pilot Exemplar. She is a Boros Dwarf pilot and acts as a lord for both dwarves and vehicles. When she becomes tapped, you may pay any amount of mana. Then you reveal that many cards from the top of your deck. Any of those cards that are dwarves or vehicles get put into your hand. This deck will look for ways to tap Depala without necessarily attacking, so that you can use her ability. The fact that she pumps vehicles, has subtype pilot, and can be activated by crew and vehicles makes the decision to have vehicles as part of the main theme very easy. Before looking at my choices, I'll give an overview of how vehicles work. Vehicles are artifacts with subtype vehicle. They are simply artifacts until they are crewed. Their crew cost is at the bottom, in this case it's 3. Once crewed, it becomes an artifact creature. If cast this turn, it's affected by summoning sickness, which means it cannot attack or use activated abilities that require tapping. At the end of the turn, they become non-creature artifacts again. With that out of the way, here are the vehicles. Aethersphere Harvester is a 3/5 flyer that crews for only 1. It can gain lifelink twice by spending the energy it creates when it enters. Cultivator's Caravan is a mana rock early and a beat stick later. Parhelion is a game winner if you can get it online. I have some cheats to help with this coming later. Peace Walker Colossus is big, but can also turn other vehicles into artifact creatures without crewing them. Raider's Carve can help with mana route. And Sky Sovereign is not only a big flyer, but also lightning bolts when it enters or attacks. Smuggler's Copter is so good. It's cheap, it flies, it crews for 1, and it works with my sub-theme, which I'll explain soon. Untethered Express crews for 1, grows, and has trample. Weatherlight can be card advantage because there's normally someone at the table that can't block flyers. Next, let's look at my selection of dwarves. Aerial Responder is a 2/3 with flying, vigilance, and lifelink for only 3 mana. The Hedge Mage is excellent. For 3 you get a 2/2 with the potential of destroying both an artifact and enchantment. The Blood Boiler allows all of your untapped dwarves to pump an unblocked creature for max damage, but it also gives Depala another way to tap. Dwarven Recruiter allows you to get the dwarves you need at the time, but more importantly, if you're able to tap Depala, you'll be able to put all those dwarves into your hand. Fairgrounds Warden is an O-ring. Magda does so much. She gives your other dwarves power. She creates treasure tokens when a dwarf taps for any reason, including attacking and crewing vehicles. Most importantly, for the cost of sacking 5 treasures, you get to tutor up an artifact and put it directly into play. Master Trinketeer creates and pumps servos. When Renegade Willsmith becomes tapped for any reason, you get to stop a creature from blocking this turn. This can be great for your attacks, of course, but you can also do this when someone else is attacking, to help their creatures get through to a different opponent. Also, he's a pilot. Restoration Specialist can be sacked to return an artifact and or enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. This is why you'll see a few enchantments in this deck. Solemn Recruit is a 2/2 double strike for 3. What makes this card so good in this deck is its Revolt ability. At the end of turn, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. This deck makes a lot of treasure tokens, and those count for Revolt. Shram draws you cards. Stoic Farmer is mana route. Veteran Motorist is a pilot that lets you scry 2 when it enters, and makes vehicles bigger while crewing them. The next couple of cards just fit the theme. Armed and Armored turns your vehicles into creatures and allows you to equip your dwarves for free. The fact that this is an instant is what makes it so good. As your opponent swings at you, seeing that you cannot block, BAM! All your vehicles are now creatures. Reckless Crew creates a 2/1 dwarf for each vehicle and each equipment you control. In addition, you can equip them for free. This deck only runs 3 equipment. Bearded Axe gives +1/+1 for each dwarf, equipment, and vehicle you control. Champion's Helm gives hexproof to Depala or any other legend you decide to equip. Goldvein Pick creates treasure tokens when combat damage is dealt. Most of my decks contain sub-themes. The sub-theme for this deck is purposely putting cards into my graveyard so that I can then cheat them back into play. Faithless Looting draws 2, then discards 2, and also has flashback. With Seize the Spoils, you have to discard first, but then you draw 2 and get a treasure. Pirate's Pillage also makes you discard first, but then you draw 2 and get 2 treasure tokens. Goblin Welder allows you to sacrifice an artifact, let's say a treasure token, to return an artifact from your graveyard. I don't know, let's say a Peace Walker Colossus. Goblin Welder can also work on other players, so if someone has a problem artifact in play and another artifact in their graveyard, you can switch those. Duretti is a planeswalker that does my sub-theme by itself. The first ability rummages, the second ability sacks an artifact to return one from your graveyard to play, and the third ability just wins. For 2, Jalum Tome loots. Refurbish puts an artifact from your graveyard directly into play. For card draw, I include Arcane Encyclopedia, which draws a card for 3 mana. Mangara, which I know is not on theme, but Boros struggles with card draw, so he makes the cut. He's a 2/4 for 4 with lifelink and a couple of nice abilities. If an opponent attacks you with at least 2 creatures, you get to draw a card, and whenever an opponent casts their second spell of the turn, you get to draw a card. It seems I lied earlier about only having 3 equipment, because I also run Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp's good on its own, but the deck creates a fair amount of 1 toughness creature tokens, which really makes this card shine. For targeted removal, I run Dispatch, which only taps a creature unless you have Metalcraft. You should almost always have Metalcraft. Source Plowshares, and Caught in the Brights, which is an R that doesn't allow the enchanted creature to attack or block. When one of your vehicles attack, exile the enchanted creature. Now I know this card seems pretty bad, but it's on theme and has some synergy with other cards in the deck. Restoration Specialist can bring this back from the graveyard as a bonus while regrowing an artifact, and Shram draws a card when you cast it. Wear and Tear destroys an artifact and or enchantment, while Crush Contraband exiles an artifact and or enchantment. For mass removal, we have Wrath of God, Dusk and Dawn. Dusk destroys all creatures with power 3 or greater. Then when it's in your graveyard, you can cast Dawn, which regrows all of your small creatures. And Fell the Mighty lets you more or less decide which creatures die. Let's talk utility. Anger gives your creatures haste if you have a mountain in play, and Anger is in the graveyard. This is a great card to ditch to Rummage. Darksteel Forge is another good Rummage target. If you can cheat this into play, you might just win. Assemble the Legion is just an excellent card. In this deck, it can be a win condition, it can provide endless blockers or endless crew, and with Skull Clamp, it provides endless draw. Conjurer's Closet can abuse come into play abilities, but it can also untap vehicles that just attack so that they're available for blocking. Unwinding Clock serves the same purpose with vehicles, and also resets all your artifact mana on each person's turn. Stonecloaker has Flash, so it can save a creature, but can also just bounce itself. In this way, it acts like instant graveyard removal. Boris Charm saves your board. Erosis protects your attackers and allows them a better chance to be unblocked. Jor Kadeen is a beatstick by himself, but with Metalcraft, he's an Alpha Strike. Enlightened Tutor can set up your next move, either putting a vehicle on top for Depala to reveal, or putting Darksteel Forge on top to be ditched to Rummage so that you can reanimate it. Treasure Map Scribeability also helps with Depala, putting non-dwarf, non-vehicle cards on the bottom of your deck. After 3 times of this, it can transform into a land that lets your treasure be sacked for draw instead of mana. Mana Ramp includes Soul Ring, Talisman of Conviction, Boris Cluestone, which can be sacked to draw a card if you need to get an artifact into the graveyard, Boris Signet, Scare Tiller, which is great in this deck. When it becomes tap, like for crewing a vehicle, you may put a land from your hand or graveyard into play tap. Keep this in mind as you choose cards to discard. Solemn ramps when it enters, and draws when it leaves play, making this both a Conjurer's Closet target as well as a sack candidate. Keeper of the Cord is another card that doesn't fit the theme, but it helps with ramp and creates 1/1 tokens. Smother and Tithe either slows your opponents down or gets you treasures, their choice. Are you tired of struggling with your dog's bad habits? Ready for a change? Unlock the secret to a well-behaved, happy dog with simple, fast, and effective training techniques that actually work. Introducing the Dog Training Bible, your go-to guide for transforming your dog's behavior. Whether you're a new dog owner or looking to fix long-standing obedience issues, this ebook collection offers practical examples and proven methods to help you achieve results. Discover how to stop problem behaviors like barking, chewing, and leash pulling. Build a stronger bond with your dog through positive reinforcement, and create a happy, healthy environment your dog will love. Start your journey to a better behaved dog today. This collection includes 37 ebooks for a limited time offer of $47. To order this guide, click on the link in the comments. Now back to the video. Here are my lands. There are a handful that produce both red and white. There's a few artifact lands, a few utility lands. Mishra's Factory can become an artifact creature. Flamekin Village gives haste. Beard Ruin can sack to regrow an artifact. Inventor's Fair can sack to tutor an artifact. Tectonic Edge can sack to destroy a non-basic land. And I finish out with 8 plains and 6 mountains. I hope you enjoyed this video. I like to stay on theme as much as possible, but as this deck shows, sometimes you have to go off theme to fill holes. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Also, if you have any favorite vehicles that I didn't include in this deck, I'd love to hear about them. Let me know in the comments. If you feel like you learned anything from this video, or if you just enjoyed it, please help me out by hitting the like button and subscribing. Thank you.